Shana Tova, friends. In 1869, French poet Charles Baudelaire wrote the following: "You have to always be drunk. That's all there is to it. It's the only way. So as not to feel the horrible burden of time that breaks your back and bends you to the earth, you have to be continually drunk. But on what? Wine, poetry, or virtue, as you wish. But be drunk. And if sometimes on the steps of a palace or the green grass of a ditch, in the mournful solitude of your room, you wake again, drunkenness already diminishing or gone, ask the wind, ask the wave, the star, the bird, the clock, everything that is flying, everything that is groaning, everything that is rolling, everything that is singing, everything that is speaking, ask what time it is. And wind, wave, star, bird, and clock will answer you, it's time to be drunk. So as not to be the martyred slaves of time, be drunk, be continually drunk on wine, on poetry, or on virtue, as you wish." This poem came to mind when I sat and gave myself the gift of looking at the Haftarah for today. There is an extraordinary moment in it, a moment unlike anywhere else in our Tanakh, in the entire Hebrew Bible. There is no one who speaks to another person and accuses them of being drunk. But it happens in this Haftarah. At the beginning of the book of Samuel, Eli, the priest who is sitting down on the job, accuses Hannah of being drunk. He says to her, because her lips were moving but her voice could not be heard, and she was involving her entire body in what he learned was her prayer, he said to her, "How long will you make a drunken spectacle of yourself? Sober up." But Hannah replied, "No, my lord, I am a very unhappy woman. I have drunk no wine or other strong drink, but I have been pouring out my heart to Adonai." We might feel a little bit of compassion for Eli. The text does say, after they had eaten and drunk at the shrine of Shiloh, Hannah rose. The commentators say Hannah, like the angels who visited Abraham, only gave the appearance of eating and drinking. In fact, she was stone cold sober. And maybe Eli could be a little bit forgiven because, as we will learn as the book of Samuel continues, he had a lot of family trouble and was trying to rein in his wayward sons. And so we learn again and are reminded that the world will look different and other people's behavior will look so different depending on the person whose eyes are being cast in that direction. But what if Hannah was a little drunk? Why not? She was reeling from desire for a child, and an even closer look at the texts might reveal that she was swaying under the effects of unrelenting bullying, which anyone who has ever experienced bullying knows can impair your behavior and your judgment. Judaism, as you all know, loves a party and doesn't discourage a cup of wine or a cup of grape juice. We call it kiddush. We make it holy because that's what it's intended to be. Biblical, apocryphal, and ancient Near Eastern references make it clear that far from being condemned, the use of alcoholic beverages was regarded by Jews and others as a necessary and distinctive feature of human life. Feasts were inconceivable without wine. Proverbs speaks of wisdom herself offering food and wine. Complete abstinence was associated with turning away from civilization, as we know from the Nazarites, whose avoidance of alcohol necessitated a sin offering when the time of their vow was done. Wine was valued for bringing joy and banishing sorrow, and it was used cultically in libations. We learn one of the messianic visions of our tradition is that on the day of the coming of the Messiah, or the messianic era, the mountains shall drip with wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and the springs of Judah shall flow with water, and a spring shall emanate from the house of the Lord, and water the valley of Shittim. Wine is very much knitted into our celebrations. However, the tradition is not keen on drunkenness. Intoxication is to be frowned on. In a number of rabbinic teachings, we are told our sages say that the original sin of Adam and Eve involved wine, as the tree of knowledge was likely, according to several opinions, a grapevine, and we know where that led. After Noah successfully survived the flood, he made grapes his first crop and is faulted for doing so. The excessive drinking of Lot, sages teach, led him to commit incense. And at the time of the consecration of the tabernacle in the desert, the two elder sons of Aaron, the high priest, drank wine, we extrapolate from the text. As a result, their judgment was impaired. They sinned by entering the Holy of Holies without permission. Right after that, we are taught one may not enter the sanctuary or the tabernacle under the influence. You may not pray while under the influence. You may not give a ruling of Jewish law if you are under the influence. And if you are a Kohen, a descendant of the priests, you may not administer the priestly blessing while under the influence. Although Hasidic Farbrengens, gatherings, are very much accompanied by the saying of L'chaims, and of course our Seder has 4 cups of wine, the late Rabbi Schneerson instructed that the number of alcoholic drinks should never exceed 4 per person for people under the age of 40. Presumably, over the age of 40, you're on your own and need a designated driver. But my friends, we are, if I'm going to be honest, in a passage of history where I will admit to all of you and our friends online that I have been feeling pretty snockered lately. Well, maybe for several years, and especially since October 7th of last year. I won't speak for anyone else, but I've been staggering around pretty much in a daze. Like an outmatched fighter in a boxing ring I can't escape. Not sure which end is up, feeling like I'm taking continual blows to the head in the middle, and not always feeling safe to drive. Everywhere we turn, it feels like outrageous accusations, terrible prejudice, severely impaired judgment, unclear thoughts, and confusion about what is real or true are really blurring our vision. It feels like a collective inebriation. Far too many folks high on hate and revenge fantasies and under the influence of too many terrifying schemes and violent visions. I'm hearing the priest Eli loud and clear. Regardless of what we think we're seeing, we need to sober up now. And yet, in many ways, we also have done that. We have sobered up to realities we didn't want and couldn't bear to dream of. Anti-Semitism, vilification, and dehumanization and consistent fear tactics and call for violence are, in fact, enough to drive a sober person to drink. Now, Rosh Hashanah is among the opportunities that was included for wine in the book of Nehemiah, describing a celebration of the first day of the 7th month. The people were told when they learned upon the opening of the scroll that that day was to be a festive day, and they had missed out for so many years from falling away from tradition and observance, they cried. And Nehemiah said to them, "Don't cry. Don't cry, be joyful. Eat beautiful foods, drink sweet drinks. This is a festival day." So this is a day to get a little drunk on. But there's the rub. On what shall we be drunk this 5785? If we are misjudged, staggering down the street, maybe even talking to ourselves or praying too fervently, let it be because we, like Hannah, are swimming in an ocean of desire for fulfillment and a desire to serve the cause of righteousness. Let this be the kind of drunkenness that is transformative, like hers was, because the visionary Hannah's wish for a child moved the Jewish people from anarchy in the book of Judges to a flawed, we will admit, but necessary and desired monarchy, a great leap forward at that time. Let it be the kind of drunkenness that directs our stumbling feet toward the good of all, not just for the privileged few. Let's make the right kind of toast, with wine if you choose, as long as it is in moderation, except on Purim, and as long, even then, as it is manageable for you, and always be safe and have someone to take you home. But, friends, let us this year be drunk. Let us be intoxicated by life and its promises. Let's be woozy with wonder, tipsy from tulips and daffodils, besotted by beauty and art. Let's be lushes for love and light, soused with song and sunshine, inebriated with laughter and rhyme, buzzed by buzzing bees and butterflies. And if the harsh light of sober reality continues to keep shining in our bleary eyes, let's balance it out by heading for the nearest source of celebration and goodness, drinking deep from the well of the world, letting it course through our veins like sweet nectar, and saying forever and forever, all the days we are given, let us drink, friends, and be drunk, lechaim, letovim, uleshalom, for life, for goodness, and for peace. Shana Tova.